America's workforce. Its strength is our nation's success. Join Ronnie Spellman on I Build America podcast as we explore innovative solutions and inspiring stories from leaders and workers shaping America. Discover actionable insights to build a motivated workforce.
Welcome to the I Build America podcast. We are here with a wonderful guest to talk about workforce development from a human resource perspective, Helen G. Sneed.
Oh, I love it. You got the G in there.
I got the G. I love it. And you are the principal and partner for Drive the Goal.
I am.
Based in Florida.
Yes.
And I am so delighted to have a conversation with you. When I arrived at the conference on workforce development, you're the first person I met.
That's cool.
And it's been really delightful just to have the conversation and to learn what it is that you do and how you do it in your transition in human resources. So I'm excited to have you on. I know when we first spoke, I was talking about how important human resources is from a workforce development perspective. People don't really think about the partnership that happens between, especially companies, but organizations in general. From a human resource perspective, a recruiting and onboarding and bringing people in to an organization and give them that career opportunity. That to me is what workforce development is all about. So I'm delighted to have you on the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited. I mentioned to you, I'm excited and nervous because we don't know each other that well.
Right.
And so it's hard to anticipate a little bit, like what direction you might go in or your speech pattern, like, oh, don't jump in too soon, Helen, because I get so excited. I know.
Now you can talk whenever you want.
Okay.
Here we're just focused on having a great conversation, and workforce development is so important across the entire country, both again in the private sector. When I worked, I set up so many recruiting departments within organizations, and we were hiring thousands of people a year. And I was working with colleges and high schools to find talent, and sounds like you're doing much the same. And so I am intrigued and honored to have you in, given your background in history, in human resources and employment and the private sector. So tell us about your organization and what you do.
Okay. Well, Drive the Goal, actually, you can't laugh at me right now. I didn't even start yet. No. So Drive the Goal was born out of COVID.
Yes.
And my husband and I resided in Connecticut. Both of us had lived there our entire lives. And when COVID happened, we found out we were one of only, 12 couples that actually wanted to spend more time together.
Okay. That's hilarious.
We grew closer together, which we didn't think was actually possible. Cool. And so I had this crazy idea that it was time to move to Florida.
Okay.
So we purchased a home, and COVID hadn't hit yet. And within 3 months, I think it was, that's when it was full-blown COVID. And I said, you know what? We don't need two homes. Let's sell the one in Connecticut, and we'll just be in Florida full-time.
Wow.
10 years before that, I started Drive the Goal as a way to raise money for students going to college.
Oh, interesting.
I felt as though I wanted to take my HR background and that business mindset and workforce development, because I did spend some time in workforce development, and I wanted to bring it to the college campuses, and I wanted to help raise money, and I wanted to create more partnerships with industry and the community colleges. And also, I wanted the time of the scholarship event to be an event where people could bring anyone.
Okay.
So I didn't want it inside four walls. I brought it outside.
Right.
You didn't have to have tickets. You weren't limited to just mom and dad. Because some people that grew up in housing developments may not have a mom or a dad, but they got a cousin or a friend. So I wanted to change the whole platform, how we rolled out scholarships, who the scholarships were for. And that's what I did 10 years ago. And then with this transition to Florida, I said, I don't know the students here. I don't know the colleges. I don't have the same emotional connection and network. So I'll go back to HR.
Okay.
So here we are. We're in Florida, although today we're in Virginia Beach. But Drive the Goal then transitioned over to HR, which I had done for at least 25 years.
Okay.
And that's what I do now. I help
how did you build a career in HR? What was the start like getting into HR and human resources? It's everyone finds a different path to get into human resources, and then they find a different journey within human resources.
Yes. Well, for me, I was raised in a foster home, so I didn't have some of the support and the network that traditional kids have.
Interesting.
And when you asked me what did I want to be when I grew up back as a child, I really didn't know.
Right.
I would say I just know I want to be the boss, which doesn't tell you very much at all, really.
Shows you're confident, though.
Okay, we'll go with that. We'll go with that. Blind confidence at the time.
Right.
And so fast forward to I was working for a high-end jewelry store. I was in sales, loving it.
Yeah.
And back then, we didn't necessarily have in-store HR people, personnel managers.
Right.
And when they rolled out our benefits, I said, whoa, that's interesting. Wow, really? Okay. 401k, profit share. This is making money. Wait, this is cool.
Right.
And so I did a little bit of research and I found out how much an HR business partner could make. And I said, that's it.
Sure, Journey.
That's what I want to do.
That's interesting.
Because part of my journey was I wanted to be able to afford a home without being forced to get married.
Sure. Okay.
That's where my head was at.
Okay. And so you made your way into HR, and then you spent, I think you focus now on onboarding, right? So some of the elements of HR and maybe recruiting as a part of that. But for 25 years, what's been most of your focus on HR? Has it been mostly benefits or?
I was a generalist, a true generalist.
Okay.
I wanted to be someone that wasn't pigeonholed, although being an expert is great.
Right.
I felt as though I never wanted a company to say no to me, but now that you know my background, you could understand why.
Right.
So for me, I always needed to have a job.
Okay.
And so I felt the best way to do that back then was to make sure that I could do anything in HR that was needed.
So for anyone listening, that is an absolute surprise, right, about the journey in foster care program. But it's enlightening because I think there's so many people as they work to find their journey, both in life and career, that we all come from different challenges and uniquenesses that make us who we are. And finding the path to building a life and a career is just unique to us.
Yes.
But there's a possibility and there's an opportunity there.
Yes.
And I love how you found your path to human resources as a career. And I've interviewed a lot of organizations and people as they try to find that journey. And what, either it's a person or maybe an experience like yours where you're watching your organization share benefits and you think, okay, that's something that I can do.
Yeah.
And then you venture in that area.
Yes.
I don't know if it required them to send you to training. And I interviewed someone else that required, whether it was a CPA training or a CDL training or any of these other programs, but human resources was an available option. Sounds like.
It was. And I started there and I was with that company for 5 years.
Okay.
And then I went to a discount big box retailer. And that's where I had the true training in human resources, where we had a district HR manager and a full-blown HR department. And I just took it all in as much as I soaked it all up as much as I could. Yes.
And then you decided to build a business around it.
Eventually.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Which is kind of neat that you took that gamble.
Yes.
So what now? And then what's kind of the strategy moving forward? And why are you at a workforce development conference?
That's a great question. It is, right? Because when I sit in the room, some of it has a little bit to do with the fact that I have worked in workforce development. So before I had my own business, I did work in workforce development. And I could see where even though we were helping the workforce and we were designing apprenticeships and we were helping with solutions for businesses, I could see that there were times where that individualization was missing because we needed to hit certain metrics. We really did. Right. We needed a certain number of people to come through the door.
Very true.
And I would spend time with someone who, okay, we put them in a CNA program, but I could tell that they really needed more based on their total situation. And some of that just comes from, I know what I went through,
Exactly.
and I needed that person to talk to me about, okay, you can start as a CNA,
Right.
but do you know that you could become a DON, a director of nursing?
Right.
And there's a real path, and maybe it's too much for you to think about today, but can we talk about it? Because when tomorrow gets here, I want you to come back to me.
Man, I love it. And so what do you take from that? And here's why I ask is when I was doing a lot of recruiting, sometimes I'll get the job descriptions from the manager
Yes.
through HR, and it has a wish list
Yes.
of all the things they want. And I look at the list and I think that's not practical
Right.
for anyone.
Right.
Like no one has those 15 different points that you're looking for in the way that you define it. And when you ask them, all right, which 3 do you have to have? And they say all 15.
Yes.
Right. And so there's a bit of a mismatch. But from a workforce development side, this is where it becomes critical because I'm looking for candidates and I try not to just align them with those 15. It's like what in their background makes me feel like they would do really well in this position.
Yes.
Now, if they're required to be an MD, then they need to have an MD.
Sure.
But what within their, and sometimes people kind of get lost in that conversation. So when people are looking for jobs online, Indeed, and these other systems, they get a little intimidated by it because it has those 15 items that no one has. But the person looking at it doesn't realize no one has that experience.
Right.
They think it's just them that didn't have it. And so part of this conversation, and I love that you're in HR because I can talk to somebody that gets it. I can say if there's a position and you're not sure if you look at your background, if you're not sure if you qualify for it, then reach out. Don't be afraid to reshape your resume, really highlight what you're good at, and give it a shot.
Yeah.
Just go for that position. But the other piece that you just mentioned, which is why I thought of it, is there's a progression there. Sometimes people kind of shoot low.
Yes.
So they shoot for just the CNA, the entry-level position, which might be the case in getting them in the door.
Right.
But once they're in the door, that ability to grow exists.
Yes.
And they need to work at it. They need to get in and then grow for the position, not just settle for it. So it sounds like you have a lot of that experience and that insight.
I do. And I love talking about that. And I'm trying to think, do I mention the name of the company? So I do this delicately. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I'm looking at your eyes, trying to read your face a little bit, facial expressions. So I often refer to the Marriott. I really do.
Yeah.
And I do that because people can start out, it might be someone who likes to work alone.
Right.
And perhaps they do begin as a housekeeper.
Right.
But then you need a supervisor for the other housekeepers.
Absolutely.
And then we can move on to maybe it's events.
Right.
And you just keep progressing throughout. And especially if I'm talking with someone who has families spread all across the United States.
Okay.
And you see how the light bulb just went on for you, it usually goes on for them as well.
Right.
So often when I'm talking with someone, I'm really trying to understand who am I talking to? I really do. And I try to use that little bit of brain of mine and the people that I meet at conferences like this, all different walks of life, and think about, oh, wait a minute. I met someone who used to work for building homes.
Right.
And, maybe I can reach out to him and maybe we can talk about how someone could get into property management.
Right. That's interesting. So I used to work in home building.
Oh, you did?
I did. But Marriott is interesting. I've been spending a lot of time in the hospitality industry, specifically hotels. And I met a young lady at an event a few months ago who worked in, I don't think she was housekeeping, but she worked in maybe the events.
Okay.
And then she worked in maybe the back of the house doing somewhere.
Sure.
And then she got into human resources. And I asked her the same question, why human resources? Well, she thought it would be intriguing. She had no experience. She had no degree in it. And they gave her a shot within that industry. It was a different hotel brand than Marriott. But to watch her progression and to watch a company give her that flexibility is incredible. Yeah. So she could find her own path versus just saying you have no experience in it. We're not going to give you that shot. And so what you just described is incredible and what you've seen at Marriott. Now, did you work at Marriott?
I have not, but I'm a Marriott Rewards member. So I tend to think of them. And going back to the jewelry store, we did have a woman that worked part-time at the Marriott.
Okay.
So it's just a little bit of familiarity
Well,
there.
I've been talking to in the hotel industry, there are over 2 million people that are directly employed by the hotels.
Okay.
They generate about 800 million in annual revenue as an industry across the U.S.
Okay.
And those are viable options. You can become a general manager within the hotel industry without a college degree.
Yes.
So many of them are. And they're earning anywhere from, depending on the size of the hotel, anywhere from 100,000 to 350,000 or so as a general manager without a high school,
Yes.
without a college degree. It's an incredible field to work.
is.
And so that's why I'm so glad to have you on. And people look at the general managers in the workforce development community and they think this person probably has a PhD in hotel management.
Right.
And then they don't realize that, no, some of my clients who are just really smart people
Right.
can get in and start their career and become a general manager, right?
And while we're on that topic,
Yeah.
I want to add a little piece that people don't think about when they're looking at those benefit packages. If a company has an employee stock purchase plan
Yes.
and you don't understand the stock market, I get that.
Right.
Okay. Imagine a foster kid not really understanding the stock market,
Right.
but now I do.
Right.
And I'm in it and I'm glad about being in it. So just some basic information that the company can help you where you might be able to buy stock for the company that you work for at a 15% discount.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And you stockpile that up, pun
Absolutely.
intended. And now you sell it and you have the deposit for your home, for your condo.
Absolutely. So what does an ideal client look like for you in your business?
I have been asked that question and I will go against the grain
Okay.
here. Anyone.
Okay.
I know everything you read in business talks about niche marketing, and I get that. I really do. But with my background, it's everyone.
Yes.
It
Yes.
just is.
Yes.
And it has to be, because for me, I would not feel good at the end of the day, at the end of the night, and when I pack everything up and go back home, if I actually said no to someone just because I felt like, well, I might not make as much money on them, or I might not, off the top of my head, know that industry very well. I'll figure it out. I'll find someone that does.
Right.
Back to this networking at a conference like this. I don't always have all the answers,
Right.
but I'm going to find them somewhere.
And what kind of organizations then do you see? Are you working with a lot of nonprofits, for-profits, mostly retail clients that you see coming through the door? Like who typically knocks on the door for?
Right now, I would say mostly I have a lot of people in transition. So my husband's a retired chief of police.
Oh, cool.
So I have a strong concentration in law enforcement who transition out of law enforcement into the private sector, and a lot of veterans, the same thing.
Okay.
And I actually just received an invitation to put together a presentation for a lot of our federal employees who have lost because lost their jobs, because it's a transition. So I do have a lot of transition clients.
So you're working with a lot of individuals then on job placements.
Yes, and their resumes and how to interview.
Now that's cool. So I've been working a lot with career and technical development education programs, technical education programs across the country. And those programs, I've done a lot of interviewing as a volunteer for high school students to help them with their resume and their interviewing skills. And it sounds like you're doing the same. I've spoken to transitioning military service members throughout the country, and helping them build that confidence and understanding what they've achieved in their background is so critical. And it sounds like you're helping them do the same. So you're writing resumes, you're probably doing some mock interviews.
Yes.
But our service members, even police officers and government employees that are transitioning, it's a great market to give them that kind of coaching that you provide. Okay.
I'll give you a very small example. It's really small, but it's real easy for you to see. So very often I'll receive a resume and they'll use 0 to, I don't know how, the military format for dates. Let me say it that way, right? And what I explain to them is, I understand why you use that, but we're sending it to someone who's not in the military. So just making that small change helps them see and understand why you need someone like me.
Right.
Because we're talking to someone else and their language is a little bit different. So we need to take how you communicate and transition that into how the person receiving your resume is going to read it.
No, so there was a company and organization that I've been working with, and I went with them out to San Diego, and they've developed some tools and metrics to help transitioning service members figure out how to convey their specific military title and experience to the private sector.
Yes.
Because it's a different language speak.
Yes.
And that transition that you just mentioned, even something simple as the date, is so critical. So if there are people out there listening that are looking to find career opportunities and workforce development opportunities and jobs, these are great points to understand. It's not just communicating what you know, but communicating in a way that people understand it.
Yes.
So what other tools have you developed to help people? What other potential examples have you seen to help people understand some of those basic elements?
I'm glad you're asking that question. I
love it.
I am. Can we go back to, you talked about the department manager as an example, who gives you this job description, has 15 items on it. What I suggest that people do is I have them read everything prior to that job description.
Okay.
And then go to the company's website. And I want them to, whether they, text it to themselves, or write it down, however they do it in their own way that makes them comfortable. I want them to take note of anything that was mentioned 3 or 4 times.
Okay. Interesting.
If it's mentioned 3 or 4 times, that's where we need to begin.
Okay.
Yes. That's where we need to begin.
Great suggestion.
Yes.
And then what?
And then we go from there. And then we look at, okay, what was mentioned twice?
Right.
Because now we can highlight those items first and we can lead with those.
Right.
And then everything that's only really mentioned once, or you almost missed it, maybe we leave it off.
Right.
It depends,
Sure.
because I'd have to know everything that's being discussed. And we're also going to look at the hiring manager. We're going to look at their LinkedIn profile.
Right.
Because we want to get a little insight into what they're like and what they might be interested in. Because that may change, that may help us make a tweak a little bit.
Okay.
If we know a little bit about the person that might be looking at this resume.
That is really fascinating. What other tools? And now this is fantastic to me, because you're describing, even for companies that I've worked through the years,
right,
the process for me helping them understand how to get out of business to business deal is really the same.
Yes.
Who are the decision makers? Yes. Understand their profile.
Yeah.
Understand what might motivate them to make a deal.
Yes.
And you're doing the same thing for that individual. Yes. You're teaching them how to make that deal and sell themselves, which is hard for a lot of people. Sure. A lot of people struggle with resumes because they don't want to feel like they're gloating. And sometimes you have to pull out and tease out what makes you the best person for a specific opportunity.
Another great point.
Yeah.
When I talk to them, I explain to them that you aren't bragging. You're helping to solve a business problem.
Absolutely.
That's what you're doing.
Yes.
And so we're going to give them examples of problems you've solved that are similar.
Right.
So you're not bragging.
Right. So, having set up a few human resource programs and recruiting programs, this has been something that I've helped my recruiting teams understand, that when you're engaging with a potential employee, we're selling the company.
Yes.
But at the same time, we're being interviewed as a company.
Oh, yes.
And a lot of companies, I think, miss that piece. They think we're the ones with the job. We're kind of in control. But that individual should be interviewing that organization as well. And for me, I wanted them to interview us because I wanted to determine that fit.
Yes.
For both of us. And our philosophy at one of the companies I worked was hire an attitude and train for skill. Right? So we wanted someone that had the right feel and fit for us, because we knew they would succeed if that fit was right, versus them just wanting a job.
Right.
And we thought their long-term success would be much better within the organization. So I suspect you're giving, hopefully you're coaching the individual the same. You need to interview them. I know you need a job. Everyone needs a job in a way to make a living. But at the same time, you need to make sure you have a place that you feel comfortable going to.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And I actually start with them. What I talk about are touch points. So we talk about that, or at least we used to in workforce development. We talk about touch points, and I do the same thing with my clients as well. And I say, when you're writing that thank you email, and it could just be simply, thank you for inviting me to an interview.
Right.
Make sure you say hello and use the person's first name.
Right.
Until you get to know them and you become comfortable, and then perhaps you can leave it off.
Right.
However, in the beginning, I want you to make sure you say hello and the person's first name. Please don't say hey.
Right. So you made me think of this. I have a huge question for you, given that you're working with the individuals. I've been spending some time learning Gen Z.
Yes.
And the generation behind, which is Alpha. They've grown up in a technology environment.
Yes.
That uses shorter characters.
Yes.
Than maybe some of the prior generations.
Yes.
And exactly what you mentioned, making sure that they're not communicating in 3-letter words or acronyms is so significant. Making sure that they construct a full sentence.
Yes.
I have a good friend that's in that career and technical education piece, and she spends a lot of time with her students helping them craft an email. And at first I didn't understand it, like an email, but they have to be taught to write in full sentences and spelling out those acronyms. Are you seeing that a lot in your workforce development side and helping people prepare for jobs?
I do. I will give you a little more insight into this. Some people do it. They really don't have the confidence because at home, people didn't read a lot of books.
Right.
And again, this just goes back to my background. So understanding that sometimes people don't have the same tools, even in the very beginning. Okay. So if they're not, if they're not reading books at home, then putting together sentences or spelling could be off. So I actually don't focus on which generation they're in.
Okay. Sure.
Because I understand there could be other reasons.
That's interesting.
Behind it.
Okay.
So I talk about, let's just be brief, because no one wants to read War and Peace in an email or a text.
Right.
So let's be brief. So how can we get it across in just 1 or 2 sentences? And it reduces that fear factor, because they're thinking, you want me to write a paragraph? Like, I'm not a good speller. Right. No, I don't. I actually only want you to write 1 or 2 sentences. That's it.
Interesting. Are you using AI by any? And here, so are you using AI with your clients to help them write and construct either letters or email? Because I've seen a few people that are using a lot of Chat GPT and AI to help them with their emails, and it gives them the confidence that you just mentioned.
Right.
So they put it in, even if it's a short letter or email, they still feel a little more comfortable in using the system to help them craft a more delicate, delightful, and inspiring message. Are you seeing that in what you're doing?
I love how you worded that. Delicate, delightful, and inspiring message. No, I love that. I love that. I pick and choose.
Okay.
If I feel that I'm working with someone that I really need to help them as a person grow and learn how to write those 1 or 2 sentences, I will not discuss AI.
Okay.
If I'm working with someone that I know is beyond that, and it's just a matter of putting it together and not having 6 sentences in that email, and they just need to be more concise, I'm more likely to use it with that person.
Very interesting. So anyone listening to you now, human resource professional.
Yes.
You've been helping people and organizations for years.
Yes.
What additional words of inspiration would you give an individual and or company that are embarking on this workforce development journey?
The first thing that came to mind without rehearsing it in my head is look beyond the piece of paper.
Okay.
That's just the first thing that popped into my head, really, was look beyond the piece of paper, because someone could hire me and put together a perfectly polished resume.
Right.
Is that the person that you need to help you, fix, solve, resolve achieve
Right.
the goals that you have in your business. And the same thing with the person who is interviewing with a business. How do they treat that interview, right? Did they remember that they scheduled it with you? Rescheduling is different,
Right.
but completely forgetting about you.
Right.
Those are two different things. Making you wait 40 minutes is not the same as 5 or 10 minutes.
Sure.
So those nuances, think beyond the paper and pay attention to the nuances.
Now, and on the opposite side, relative to the AI conversation earlier, have you had to change how you help people build their resume based upon the systems analyzing their resume for keywords to consider that person?
So the keyword concept has been around a while. What I talk about is how can we frame this so that the machine or the person, because we don't always know which one we're going to get.
Right.
We don't always know. And there are so many different softwares. When we talk about the ATS, what is it, the applicant tracking system, right. There's so many different softwares. We don't even know which one we're going to get.
Right.
So we focus more on, are we helping them solve a problem? So yes, let's make sure we've captured the important words, but I don't hyper focus on keywords.
I appreciate that perspective enormously. And here's why. As people began to craft and build their careers, if they just focus on keeping it simple, right? Just share what you've done, what you bring to an organization. The system is the system. You can't predict which one. Just focus on you and what you can deliver.
Yes.
And the rest will work out.
Yes.
And they'll be fine. But make sure you present a good case. A lot of times when I look at resumes, and for my recruiting teams, by the way, the different companies, for as much as I could, I try not to use AI because I needed to glean out within the resume what made them unique, right, and what makes me feel like they could succeed. And a lot of that you can't use a system to discover.
Right.
And so I appreciate you saying what you said. Just kind of keep it simple and focus on what makes you a good worker when it comes to an employment opportunity.
How can I help you reach your goals? Okay. And is it a company that will ask me, what are mine?
Right. I love it.
Yeah.
Helen, it's delightful to speak with you from a very different perspective than a lot of the people in the workforce development arena might think about. But it's important to understand that other side, like understanding the individual and the business component so that we can match people well with these opportunities. So I appreciate you sharing your journey,
Thank you,
both career and personal journey, to help people figure out their own journey.
Thank you. I've enjoyed being here, spending time with you, getting to know you. And I appreciate the opportunity to be on your podcast.
I love it. You've been fantastic.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on the I Build America podcast, where we're helping to uncover opportunities and insight that can impact a person's ability to build their careers and build success, and organizations for them to find the talent they need across the country. I know there are a lot of shortages in different industries across the country, but the people are there.
Yeah.
We just need to be a little bit more creative at times in finding them, or finding the organizations that help to find the people, or finding a Helen that might have access to the people that are looking to be matched with these different opportunities. So I appreciate you joining again. And thank you for listening in to I Build America podcast.
Thank you for listening to the I Build America podcast. Please subscribe, share, and comment, and be sure to join us next time for more insights and inspiring conversations on building a powerful American workforce. I Build America, building workforce success one podcast at a time.